Good morning, everybody. We were just sitting in the kitchen talking about the coronavirus, which I think probably the majority of people are doing this morning. Even here in Temecula, we've seen the consequences overnight of businesses shutting down, of just supermarkets, people going crazy, buying everything they can.
Yeah.
Toilet paper being referred to as white gold, 48 hours in.
That's for sure. I still can't get any.
Right. Well, I offer
I'm
to
down
help.
to 3 rolls, right?
I have 36. We can
Thank you.
divvy
Oh,
out.
you're one of them. Okay.
I know. We know where to go.
And then, but also, and this is kind of the part that really I find intriguing, so much less traffic on the roads. Why? Because people have been told to work from home.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot remember for the first time in 50 years I've been in this world where people have had to work from home. And it's something that we've heard a lot about, telecommuting, the future of telecommuting, the future of work. And there's been a lot of reticence, I think, from a lot of businesses because they didn't know what the consequences were going to be. And when in doubt, let's just stick to what we know. But now that this has kind of been forced upon us, it'll be interesting to see where certain business owners may have been like, oh no, it wouldn't work for mine. But it turns out to be okay. And it may be even better.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean in terms?
We've seen this in 1993. In terms of when there was an earthquake. We were not set up technologically like we are now.
Correct.
But we were forced to work at home, to stay at home. It was, there was more gridlock, but there was a slowdown. And so we've seen it. I don't think we saw that in 2008 because it was a different sort of situation that we were in. But we have seen it. And I don't know if we can learn from looking back 2 recessions ago, to garner any information, see how that could help us.
We had an event a year or so ago that Paradyme sponsored called The Future of Work.
Okay.
And I was involved with putting that together. And behind the scenes, we were putting together for speakers to come to this because I would always jokingly say, where's my flying car? It was 2019, and I was supposed to have a flying car by now. It's not there. What's the problem with that? And I blamed it on trains. I won't get into that at this point, but in the process of putting that together, we're looking at different major organizations at which most of the folks in this region work. And I was going to have speakers from those organizations come in and talk about the future of work and what their plans are. And they were very major corporations, multinational corporations that if I said their names, everybody would know. And I had folks coming, in some cases very highly placed folks in those organizations, and they all got canceled. The reason they got canceled is because of company policy. The company policy, they literally had VPs who would walk around in their facilities, and they basically would check butts in seats. They had to have butts in seats because of HR policies and other regulations, that some of which were the states, that precluded folks from working from home. And the message that we all got loud and clear is that it's going to come back and bite them someday, because at some point something's going to happen that's going to force that issue, and they will not be prepared for it. Enter today. It's exactly what's going on today. Is now all of a sudden it is not really that much of an option. You have to work from home in many cases because of self-quarantines or whatever else is going on. And so those companies that were like Paradyme, who are looking ahead to see what's coming and shift accordingly, if they didn't do that, they're in a world of hurt today. But if you're a company like Paradyme that's focused on looking ahead to see what we can do to look at the boots on the ground situation, but look further than that, so we're prepared for the rest, and we can maybe benefit from the outcomes. Then today they're doing fine. They got plenty of toilet paper, so we're good to go.
No, and that's a very good point. To your point earlier, Stacy, the earthquake, but that was very localized. This is global.
Yes, that's
a big
very,
change.
very, very good point.
1993, we're talking more than 20 years ago. Technology has evolved.
Absolutely.
Video conferencing, the ability to be able to communicate with somebody on the other side of the world
That
is
will
in place.
help us
So
a
imagine
lot.
how easy it is to communicate with somebody in the same city.
Yeah.
And now to your point, Doug, very, very good point, and how Paradyme, it's in our name, right? Paradigm shift. And that's what we were talking this morning, why we wanted to sit down to get you guys' expert opinion to weigh in with us, give us your comments, but the future of work. So you're now not working in an office anymore, you're working from home. Great. What does that mean? You're not on the road as much.
Yep.
Does that mean that you can now go to the gym a little more? You can spend
Yeah.
more time with your family? How do you spend time with your family? Do you go to the movie theater? Do you go bowling?
Quality of life seems to improve when you are working remotely. If you're getting your work done, which we see this transition, I think, like you stated earlier, why businesses were a little hesitant because we haven't seen that shift in the market yet and in the job economy. Can people work effectively and efficiently at home? So this is a good test to see where people are forced, like you said, to work at home. But that comes with a lot of positives for the employee and the employer. If the employee is having a really well and stable quality of life, I feel as if their work is going to be almost better and they're going to put more effort into that because they're not so absorbed into their work life and they have a little bit more motivation behind their work since they have an outside life.
Studies have been shown that, and I just based the study that I did, and it wasn't just me, I went through the folks who actually do this kind of studies, when we were putting that future of work together, that the value of lost productivity just from the folks who commute from here to San
Yes.
Diego, commute from here to Orange County, was in the hundreds of billions of dollars a year. And so if corporations wanted to recapture that value from their employees to make them better employees, to make them more productive employees, they need to figure that out. And the cultures that didn't figure that out are probably having a problem right now. And the cultures of the corporate cultures that did work to figure that out are probably doing fine today. And this could be a shift culturally for all of us worldwide to find out, you know what, maybe it's time to move into the 21st
We're
century.
almost on that. We were almost there anyhow,
Yeah.
you know, with WeWork and the platforms that were out there. We were pushing that way with ESG, with, you know, has gone on in Davos, and we're pushing that way. This just may push us right over into a world that we thought maybe might come on slower. I would love for the experts out there to, you know, kind of chime in on how this is going to affect asset classes in commercial real estate or in real estate in general. And I'd just love to kind of get talking on that subject. You know, who's going to be affected? How would they be affected? And what asset classes will thrive? I mean, we have our ideas. I just would love to see what this brilliant community out there believes is the case as well.
And it spills over to a conversation we had earlier about wellness, about health, and how does working from home change that as well?
Yeah.
Is it easier
Stress
to eat
relief.
better? You know, you don't have to run to the local fast food place for lunch. You can have lunch at home. Is that going to change?
Yeah.
Does that mean that restaurants are going to have less people coming to the location, but they're going to do more catering and home deliveries?
Yep.
And then it spills over into retail.
Yeah.
Right now, we're talking about companies such as Apple, Nike, closing down their stores globally. And immediately it's like, oh my God, what are the consequences? Are there really going to be consequences? All these companies have incredibly robust e-commerce platforms. Combine that with express free delivery to your home. Does it really matter for most people whether they buy the iPad at the store or get it delivered to their home? It really doesn't. Are we going to see a shift in retail as well?
Yeah.
Where we're going to get more and more ordering from, other sites and then getting delivered to your home?
Yeah.
How is that going to affect us? And that's what we were talking about this morning. We understand commercial real estate. We understand residential real estate, but it's a constant shift. So now another aspect we can look at is if today people are going to be working from home, does that mean that you're going to have to look for a home that has one or two more rooms because now you and your partner are working from home and you need an office
Yeah.
within that space, right? Does that mean that people who were not going to buy homes, which seem to be the trend, right, with millennials, not wanting to own a home, wanting to live in an urban environment, but if we don't have retail, if we don't have as many restaurants and we work from home, does that shift all of a sudden?
Absolutely.
Does wellness and health should push us further outside of cities to find less polluted environments?
Yeah.
How does it affect? And that's what we'd love to hear from you guys, is
Yeah.
from the health and wellness experts, it's retail experts, it's e-commerce experts. We understand real estate as it exists today. We constantly shift to be able to adapt to the new real estate markets, but today it's not just about real estate.
No.
It's as such, it's about all the other aspects of our everyday life and how that's going to change. And that, I think, has been the most fascinating part of the conversation we've all had this morning is here is something that could be as temporary as 2 to 4 weeks. We find a vaccine, everybody gets vaccinated. But really, what are the long-term consequences going to be?
I think that's a point. I also want to ask you a question after I finish this point. So I'm gonna put you on the spot on this one. But to that point, this is a reality that we need to say, and that this is temporary. This is a temporary thing. It is something that will pass. Now, unfortunately, the process of that passing, there's going to be some tragedies for some folks. But it's going to be over. And so one of the things I would be interested in hearing from the folks is, while this is temporary, what will not be? What will change forever because of this, as we go forward with this? We've said forever that if you have the opportunity to invest in the stock market versus real estate's a safer bet. Well, we can make that case real strong right now with what's going on in the stock market. But when it comes to investing, when it comes to wealth management, when it comes to wealth creation, when it comes to quality of life, while this is temporary, I'd like to hear from them. What do they think is not? What do they think is going to be permanent? And then I segue into this with Avery. Folks, as you're out here watching this, one thing you may notice is that she's younger than we are. I know,
Barely.
I know it's hard. It's hard to really tell, but she kind of is. And so, Avery, from your point of view and your generation, as you're looking at this, do you have any conclusions or observations that, or things you want to know from your peers that you would like for them to get back to us on?
I think so. I'm in the weird generation. If we're gonna go by generations, I'm 21, so I'm kind of in that weird, not really millennial, but like really old Gen X. So it gets confusing right there. But in terms of people around my age, I would say like 18 to 25. I really see a transformation in how they view and how I view the workforce, and seeing the health and wellness side of working from home. And I feel like my generation has really pushed on that, and has really pushed on limiting the 9 to 5 and hour plus commute to work, and more so like we can get our work done from home. And if someone can't, you fire them and find someone who will get the work done. And I feel and saw that this transition was slowly happening, but a pandemic like this, we're forced to work from home in a lot of companies. I'm a really big supporter of Patagonia, and they shut down all of their corporations, but they put out a statement that, you know, we're just having our employees work from home. Those who can work from home, they're going to work from home, work remotely. And those in the warehouses, you know, we're going to make sure they're safe. So we see that transition of like, okay, they're forcing their workers to work from home. Now what's the repercussion of that? And I feel as if it's going to be positive, because there are a lot of people who would prefer to work from home, but there's a stigma in the workforce that no, you can't work from home. You have to be in the office. I have to be watching you. And I feel like there should be a level of trust between you and the employer that no, I'll get my work done regardless of where I'm at. And if I'm not, that's where the employer comes and holds you accountable. So I see this as something very positive in how we view work culture, because work culture is so important in terms of productivity, how your employees are, how your business is doing. If your culture is not good inside the office, you're going to lose business. Your company is going to fail, because your company is all about team. And if you're not having a healthy, sustainable, you know, motivated team, your company is just going to go downhill. So,
generally speaking, at any level. Yeah.
So I really feel like, in terms of my generation, that we really have been trying to put that pressure on, you know, the older generations, because they're usually our bosses, and saying like, no, trust us with this ability to have more freedom in terms of getting our work done. Because I know I
feel
lose,
more creative at home sometimes, because there's not so much coming at you. You can actually think better.
And I traveled to Spain once, and someone told me from Spain that Americans, they work with a sprinkle of life. And, you know, they, in Spain, live with a sprinkle of work. And I feel like that's where our culture should shift. You're going to have more productivity if people are motivated and having a healthy, sustainable life outside of outside
less,
of work.
well, and on the wellness side, less antidepressants, so there may be a whole effect that takes place
So
when
many
we
little
do that.
things, like Francois said earlier,
Stress
like
levels
not
come down.
yeah, not eating out, like eating more at home, spending time with your family, like
Having
there's-
time to grow your own food.
Yeah, there's just so
Sustainability.
many more positives to that come. Less people on the road, less gas or oil polluting the earth,
Yeah.
and all these small little things that people may not think about, but it is long
Quality
term.
of life.
Yeah.
Quality
how,
of
how many
life.
people do we know in our separately that where someone didn't take care of themselves for a long time and then had a health consequence as a result?
Yeah.
And after they got through the serious health consequence, where they're at the gym, they're eating right, it got their attention. This may well be a situation where it's gotten our attention. And
Yeah.
with Paradyme, I think part of it for us is we're looking at that going, we're already thinking this way.
Oh, yeah,
We're
absolutely.
trying to be, so we anticipate the shifts and we can mitigate those kinds of things, but we can always get better at that. Which is why we're having this conversation with you folks, is how can we get better at that? Because at the end of the day, when it comes to investment in real estate, this is people's retirement money. This is not budget dust for a lot of people. This is stuff that's very important to them.
Yeah.
And so we're always looking for ways to do what we do better. And so you can help us do that. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, and I think also too, I mean, we knew we were where we are in this cycle. We were at the 11th year of a 10-year cycle. So I think we've been looking at that here at Paradyme, knowing there's going to be a black swan of sorts. That's you can think of another way to describe that, but I feel like we've talked a lot about something's going to take place in the marketplace that is going to get the fear going. And the cycle will go down. So I don't know, where, anticipating, where will that go? Where's the U curve? But I think we've been on top of this, in terms of what is that unknown known? What's going to be unknown that we're going to need to deal with? And we've been on that for a long time, at least a few years. And here, here we are. And I think there are companies out there who are prepared. And you can even look back to even Bridgewater is coming out saying we weren't not prepared. So
You have there's the other side of that too, is when you do come to these situations, I would call it, we gotta look for the pony in the poop.
I love it.
When you see so much poop around, there's gotta be a pony in there somewhere.
There's
And
the
so
pony.
identifying where that pony is.
The silver lining.
And yeah, basically, that's the extra work it takes to when it comes to being successful, is that you can't throw your hands up, say, oh, well, I guess it's over,
It's
everything's
not
just
over.
horrible. I know we're not gonna join in that chorus.
No.
Our point is, where's the pony? What can we do so that, number one, that our investors come out of this better than
Absolutely.
before, and moving that thing forward.
Cost
And so-
averaging
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
I mean,
Be one step ahead is the goal
Yeah.
at Paradyme
Yeah.
for not just our company, but like you said, for our investors and for the communities too, because we don't work with just investors, we work with
No.
communities, so we want to make sure that we're evolving one step ahead, and it seems like that evolution is in terms
Yeah.
of like technology, health and wellness, quality of life, all of that sorts. Francois,
Yeah.
do you have any?
And just looking at different assets, right? You going back to the conversation about retail. At the end of the day, the product still has to get to you. So, do we shift from a model where we currently have warehouses and then the store as being the last mile distribution? Does that turn into more local warehouses
Absolutely.
that become the last mile?
Yeah.
Yes. So
And
then
they're
we can
moving
look
into
at that
Yeah.
and go, okay, we need to invest into warehouses or buy land where we can build
Yeah. Well, I
well, I
warehouses.
think that's why industrial has done so well over the last several years. They've really, with e-commerce and moving into that last mile space. I mean, we have a lot of retail centers that have turned into last mile space because that's where we're going. And I think we've gotten pushed even further into that mode.
We're gonna be in flying cars soon. It's coming. People are gonna fly,
Doug,
because they're gonna fly.
that's how you're gonna
and
get
bring us
to
our
work. That's
stuff
how
to
we're
the
all
last
getting
mile.
back to work.
I mean, listen, they have drones now that will do
Yeah.
that last
Can they carry
100
us?
feet,
They
right?
actually had a drone there
taxi.
that carries people.
Yeah, the drone
and
taxi.
robots, etc.
So it's coming. We're getting there.
Absolutely, but again, we believe that we shift here at Paradyme, and we have a good pulse on real estate, commercial, residential. But we need to hear from you. We need to hear
Yeah.
from experts, but also from everyone else.
Yep.
How has your life changed? How do you think it's going to change? If you know it's going to change, how would you like it to change? How
Yeah.
about we don't just kind of
Opportunity.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right, and that's what
Yeah.
we're working with Doug and Ryan Ryan and Kara
Yeah,
managed to
I
make it
mean-
back here to the US
Yeah.
just a couple of hours before the ban came into
Yeah.
effect. Ryan has been on the phone with all of us continuously for the last 3 days, kind of talking about this. And, you know, I'm not going to call it speculating, but kind of talking, what does the future look like?
Yeah.
And we'd love everybody's opinion.
Yep.
Let us know, what do you want the future to look like? As investors, you know, we want to hear from you, and we want to know where you see the future, because we're a family and we take opinion into consideration, and we want to give people what they want.
Yeah. So, yep. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening, and make sure to comment, reach out to us, email us, call us, respond to the social media posts. And we do podcasts in our own studio here, and we'd love to do podcasts with experts so that we can talk to
should
the rest
invite
of the
them in.
world
Yeah.
and share opinions. Thank you very much
Look
for your
forward to
time.
hearing from you.
Thank you.